episode 18. Wow, 18. That's a big number. As always, on the Press Y podcast, we discuss this week's gaming news as well as our thoughts on the industry as well as things going on. I'm Gunnar, and joining me, as always, I'm going to say as always as many times as possible this podcast.
Nice.
But joining me, as always, is the wonderful Emerson.
Well, hello. Now that Press Y is 18, it's officially an adult.
Oh, yeah. So we can now vote.
Yes.
Cool. All right, that was a great
Press
joke.
Y can now be drafted.
Yeah. So this week we're gonna cover some news about Pokemon. The DualShock 5 leak. Oh yeah, I did play it. If you were one of the few people who caught the stream,
that was me.
It was just Emerson and a couple of other of my friends. But yeah, I streamed Pokemon on the channel just to test out the streaming functionality on YouTube. But yeah, we're gonna talk about some Pokemon, Stadia, some issues there. Quick mention on the Sonic redesign. And something that Miyamoto was talking about, wanting Nintendo to be as big as Disney. But this is actually going to be a fairly short episode. Me and Emerson both, just as far as like college and stuff goes, have a lot of stuff going on. Emerson more so than me at the moment. But so we're just going to kind of run through here and knock out some of this news. So the first thing I'm talk about today is that Sword and Shield launched to some insane numbers. So it's 6 million units sold in the first week, and of course this is the games combined because they technically count as one game. So it's the fastest selling Switch game ever, which is wild. I mean, not unsurprising, it is Pokemon, but it's also the highest grossing launch of any Pokemon game. So, yikes! That's pretty good. Too bad to all the people who wanted to boycott the game. Which I guess all the people boycotting the game were buying it anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the highest grossing launch isn't the biggest surprise because the games are 50% more expensive than they used to be.
Yeah.
So they only had to sell 50% less copies to actually make the same.
50%?
Yeah, they went from 40 to 60.
Oh, well, okay.
So they need to sell less copies to hit that same bar. But I think their sales are still great, but the highest grossing launch of Pokemon, not surprising when you basically say, okay, you're now buying a game and a half per purchase.
Yeah.
In terms of payment, not in terms of quality or
no, in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty ugly. Yeah, that was that was my experience yesterday when I was streaming. Was I just kept I didn't want to harp on it too much, but the entire time I was like, man, this game is so ugly. It's so ugly. And I mean, I'm even playing it on a 24-inch 1080p monitor as well for the stream, and so you have a smaller screen that you're playing on, so it's gonna have a higher.
It looks fine on the light, but I feel like it was made for the light. Because I play on the light, I have very few complaints outside the wild area, which still does look terrible even on the light. But most stuff looks fine. But when you look at it on more than the light screen, anything blown up, even the OG Switch screen, it looks kind of gross, and you.
I don't think it looks too bad on my OG Switch screen. I will say indoors, like whenever you go into buildings, I think that's when the game really shines. That
in battles.
Yeah. Which in battles, I will say there's some pretty ugly looking set pieces in the background.
So there's kind of blank white. You're going somewhere, it's like, how about white with moving lines? Like, okay, you didn't have it inside of a building or anything.
Yeah,
nope, it's just white.
I haven't moved past the first town.
I've had a few where you go into battle and and then everything was white because we didn't want to have our own backdrop for this area.
Yeah, that's dumb. But yeah, some of the set pieces that I mentioned, at least in the first town. What's the first town called?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't. But it's one of the set pieces during the battles.
You'll never go back.
A 2D. Yeah, it's like a 2D texture, which is normal for like a set piece, but very very low resolution. Very, very low resolution. And so since the game's running at good Lord, running at a 1080p image at that time, you can kind of make out all the details on everything on screen. And so it's pretty obvious and it's kind of ugly, but it's not the prettiest game, but so far it's all right. I mean, and I'm in the tutorial section of it, so it's literally just pressing A as much as I can because there's no
you'll be there for a while because even when you move on to the game, hop stops you consistently through the game.
Oh boy.
It never goes away. It's him or you get two more rivals and they all kind of just follow you hey, you can go to an area, pause, here's a bunch of dialogue you can't skip.
Yeah.
And so you really, at least so far, I'm going into, I think, the 4th gym. It's basically tutorial the entire way.
Oh my goodness. Good
it slows
Lord.
down a bit, but it's fine. I mean, I go dexing, like catch everything I can in a certain route or evolve what I can. And it's been the most fun I've had so far. But the story and characters and pacing, I think the game entirely is just inconsistent. You have some areas that look great, some areas that look absolutely atrocious. Battles are great, or they're kind of frame drops. It's very like inconsistent.
Yeah, it seems so. The menus look nice. I'll say that. But moving on, you want to talk about?
Yeah. So speaking, actually, this is why I caught one of these. I told you about this. So Pokemon Sword and Shield have added Ultra Shiny Pokemon. That's what we're calling it right now. People have that name for it because it's technically a rarer version of a shiny, even though there's no visual distinction other than the animation when Pokeball opens. Generally, when you have a shiny Pokemon, there's stars kind of fly around it. Well, there's a new version that have like squares fly around it. It's been kind of dubbed Ultra Shinies by the community. So the shiny odds have been lowered to 1 in 4096, I think, since X and Y. But 1 out of 16 of those will have the square animation and not the star animation, and that's an Ultra Shiny. However, if you chain hunt for shinies, the odds inverse to where you're going to Ultra Shiny more likely than you have an actual shiny. There's no visual distinction between the two shinies. The shinies are the exact same colors, exact same designs, which I think would be kind of cool to have like an albino shiny or something where the shiny would change its color to kind of more differentiate. This is an Ultra Shiny. This is an actual shiny.
I have an idea. Yeah, a shiny that's actually shiny.
Ooh, well, that's what they call it. They have the little like sparkle thing when they come out of the battle. They have that little shine. No, and the fans called it shinies first, and I think it was Diamond and Pearl that first actually officially called it a shiny Pokemon because the fans had that name for it for a while.
And that's interesting.
Yeah, and
I think it should just be reflective.
Well, they changed colors. They have the little like sparkles. Not really reflection.
I was making bad jokes.
But yeah, I think actually I encountered a full odds, which means like I wasn't chaining, I wasn't like chain fishing or anything or breeding. It was a full odds Ultra Shiny. When I was trying to catch Pokemon, trying to dex in a certain area, I pulled out the pre-evolution of Dreadnought, the little turtle thing, and I pulled one up on my second one ever, and it was like a green-red Ultra Shiny with the square animations around it. So I was very pleased to encounter a 1 out of 65,536 odds shiny full odds. But I actually tend to have early game like insane shiny luck. In Pokemon X, so there's a Pokemon called Combee, which only has a 12.5% chance to be female. And it only evolves if it's female. So a shiny female Combee is basically 1 out of 8 Combees that a shiny will be female. I started the game Pokemon X and I literally encountered a shiny female Combee, completely full odds, and I was definitely happy with that. And then in Hard Gold and Soul Silver, first route shiny Rattata on my original playthrough. So I tend to have like insane early like shiny luck.
Uh-huh.
And so my Ultra Shiny is in my box, chilling around, and it'll probably never see the light of day again because it's too valuable to see the sun again.
Yeah, very cool.
The power of science is amazing.
I'm sure I'll run across it. I'm sure I'll run across plenty of shinies and just have absolutely no.
You'll know. The game kind of pauses to show their big animation, like the sparkles around him and everything. It'll be pretty clear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because whenever a shiny appears, other than the color, even if you don't know the color is different, it'll kind of dim the screen. You have like the shiny animation like poof around them, so it's very clear that they're shiny, unless you miss the animation for their like appearance.
Cool. I'll pay attention to it. Moving on to the next story. So the DualShock 5. I'm not going to say it leaked, but there's a patent filed for it by Sony in Japan, and it features a very similar controller to the DualShock 4. It seems to have some slimmer joysticks, I believe, on it. I'm looking at the picture here right now. Sony's already confirmed that there's going to be features such as haptic feedback on the controller, which I think all controllers need. The Switch controller has that. With the HD rumble, and it feels amazing. I can't believe that it's taken people this long to add that into the controllers. It's also switching to USB-C for its connection, which thank God. I think everything should be. Yeah, I think everything should be.
Micro USB died a hard death.
It's yikes! It's so behind. And the light bar's gone, which that's one of the things about the PS4.
Yeah, the light bar is if you play it at night, like I have because you don't have a PS4. You sit there in the dark and play your PS4.
Correct.
That light bar is bright for one. Like I've been playing Spider-Man when I was finishing the game up. do my 100% run. I'd be like, it would be in the dark playing my game with other than TV screen. You have this big blue light like illuminating the floor. Some games have used the light bar to like kind of change colors if you're like low on. I think Shadow of the Colossus did. If you're hurt, it would go red. Some game I played had that where the light bar integrated into the play style. Well, I mean, you can tell because it's so bright, so you can tell when it illuminates and changes colors. It's kind of neat, but most games don't use it at all, and you can't turn it off. I don't believe so. It just absolutely like drains your battery. I think the Xbox One and the Switch have comparable battery of about 60 hours. The DualShock 4 is I don't think, maybe it's 40. I can't remember the exact number, but the DualShock 4 does not last anywhere near as long as its competitors do because that light bar just blasts out the light nonstop through your entire play session.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And so that thing being good, even though I think it looks neat, and I think better thing is like having buttons have the LED around it, kind of like the Switch Home button. Like if you're gonna do something like that, okay, it's kind of cool. If you want to integrate that controller for certain games to do that, or if you want to have your own like custom LED like buttons, fine. But the big old blue light bar that shoots out of your DualShock 4 and like illuminates the entire area around you is way uncalled for, even though it's kind of neat. But that is an absolute battery killer. So I'm looking forward to having one without that.
Same.
Or they could have just.
I'm looking forward to having a PlayStation.
Yes.
Oh, you want to cover
the dark side?
You want to cover the Stadia? You cover that first part, and then I'll get.
Okay, so Stadia launched this week, but you may not have known it. Even if you pre-ordered the game, or the console, the bundle, the Founder's Pass. If you were a founder, chances are you actually probably weren't, because most people that pre-ordered it, their launch codes either didn't get to them because they shipped the code separately than the bundle for some reason.
What? Why?
So yeah, well apparently it was digital. So the digital launch code that they email you comes separate from the box with your controller and your Chromecast and your like cords.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And so they were apparently emailing them out in the order in which they were basically receiving the purchases. But a lot of people had still didn't get them. I can't remember what channel I was watching, but they did a whole breakdown. They were a founder, and they had to buy one from one of their viewers because their code has not come yet. Oh, and so on top of that, well, Google said the pre-orders were, quote, monstrously or monumentally low, end quote, because they apparently I think everyone was watching to see like, okay, what is going to happen with this thing? I think they're very disappointed as well because they were marketing this thing everywhere. All your ads for YouTube were Google Stadia, come by, be a founder. And it was just a terrible launch. Apparently, the only phones that can set it up or buy games, you only do that on your Google Pixel phone. So to activate your Stadia, you have to have a Google Pixel phone. You can't do it on your browser. You can only play it on Google Pixel devices for your phone. For your computer, it has to be wired in your controller. And you can play wired or wireless with your Chromecast, although the Chromecast, if you're wireless, has a noticeable additional latency on it. So it was a complete disaster. It was Gamers Nexus, the ones who had to buy from their viewer because their code never came. And then if you have what is it called? Google, not Studio, but the business account. What's that called? It's, oh gosh. Basically, you have like your Google business email, Google Suite. If you have a Google Suite email, which this is what happens, I think, to beat 'em ups. If you have a Google Suite email, you can buy it through Google Suite because it's a Google account. You think Google Stadia would work with it. So you can buy it through there. So what happened to him, I believe, was he tried his tried his code he got on his Google Suite account, and it didn't work because Google Suite cannot work with Stadia. You have to use a generic Gmail account. And so because he went to use a Gmail account, after already trying the code with his suite, it said the code was used. Sorry, you can't use this code again. And so this has been a disaster from launch. Apparently the queue he was in for help, he was over number 500 in line for help. He went on Twitter, got like a bunch of course, his whole followers were retweeting and liking, boosting his stuff. He sent a help thing to Google. They never got back to him about it, so he had to go to their Discord and find help. But it was a disaster for their launch. Turns out you can only edit or buy games or activate via Google Pixel device. It was, I don't know who thought this was a good idea, on top of them having noticeable latency as well with some of their games. There's some good breakdowns of it, although I'm going to recommend again, the whole thing with a Gamer's Nexus, they broke down some of the a frame rate on top of them breaking the controller apart, quite literally, because they couldn't open it without taking a saw to it, basically. A heat gun, liquid nitrogen, and a buzzsaw, basically. But yeah, anyway, this is an absolute disaster for Google. Their launch did not go well. Their game prices are also still so obscure. Some of them are really good, like Tomb Raider Trilogy. First game's $10, other two are $30. Those are pretty comparable to used game sales or even new game sales in most locations. Destiny 2 is free, as it should be. And then there's some crazy, like, Final Fantasy 15's $30. You can get the generic version of GameStop used for maybe $8. You can get I got the Royal Edition new for $20.
Yeah, you can catch it on Steam for so cheap during
sales. So I mean, some of their games are more expensive. So as it is now, because the poor person version isn't out yet, it's only the Stadia Pro and the Founders Pass. So you're paying $130 in for Samurai Showdown, Destiny 2, and a controller and a Chromecast. Okay, well,
oh boy,
any other games are comparable or worse pricing than anything at GameStop. And so this whole thing has just been an absolutely terrible launch.
Yeah, and I wanted to detail the overheating issue as well. Did you mention that in there?
I didn't, but I heard about it.
Okay, so so some people are reporting that their Chromecasts are overheating as well. So the Stadia Founder Pack came with the controller and as well as a Chromecast Ultra, which is a streaming device. And those have been around, I believe, since 2013. It's been a while. We have one downstairs at our house. It's pretty cool. But I actually noticed a couple weeks ago, like when I had to unplug it because it disconnected from the internet and had to reset it. But we were streaming on it for a while before that. And whenever I touched it, it's like a small little kind of puck-shaped device with a dongle. It was pretty hot. I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Whoa, this is just streaming," but it was pretty toasty. Well, some people's Chromecast Ultras are getting really, really toasty whenever they're playing games for extended sessions on Stadia. So there seems to be multiple reports of this. It doesn't seem to be as widespread as some I guess YouTubers or news people on Twitter may make it sound like it is. It really doesn't seem like it's that common of an issue, but it does highlight that maybe the Chromecast Ultra wasn't the right device for this. And I actually did a little research on my own, and there have been some overheating issues with the Chromecasts in the past, or the Chromecast Ultra in the past, as immediate as last year, at least from what I found online.
I think this basically proves that anyone buying Stadia is paying to be a beta tester.
They are paying.
I don't know how Google didn't know that these things, they've been overheating for a while, and now especially till you're trying to run 4K, even if it's 1080p upscaled. Trying to run 4K games.
No, it's 4K.
Some of them actually are 1080p upscaled. Like I think Final Fantasy 15 was. I'm pretty sure Red Dead 2 was 1080p upscaled. They had an issue too with some of their things were technically 4K, but they were upscaled from 1080p. I'm pretty sure Red Dead 2 was, because that was a big thing where they showed side by side footage of that and then the Xbox 4K, and there's noticeable differences there in terms of quality. But
yeah, we also have to take in mind compression, because I watched Digital Foundry's video. I can't remember what game they cover. I'm trying to think what game they covered in that in their overview. But one of the things they pointed out, and I mean I expected this, but since you are streaming, there is a lot of compression with it. So even if you're getting a native 4K image like from the game, it's gonna look significantly.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't think that streaming this to a Chromecast, which already has issues just playing video, which is now going to play like a higher video. Technically, it's still streaming, but it's streaming a higher.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Can I stop you? Well, it's had some issues in the past. It's not as widespread as people. Some people have.
No, I know, but this is even a more intensive streaming thing on top of using an old device.
Sort of. So what's interesting? I actually watched Spawnwave's video. I believe that came out today, where he actually did some thermal tests on the Chromecast. And it runs about 5 degrees on average hotter when using the Stadia app, which is really interesting.
Celsius, right? Or is it Fahrenheit?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, Celsius. Which is really interesting because, I mean, it is just streaming. Like all it is streaming. It's not taking inputs from a controller, because the inputs are going through the router. It's because it's a Wi-Fi controller. It's not a Bluetooth controller. So that's what's so interesting and so kind of mind-boggling to people is why is it overheating? And I was thinking, okay, well maybe people's devices were overheating more on games where it's running a higher frame rate at 4K. So like Destiny, because Destiny is 60 FPS on Stadia, and what's his face? Spawnwave actually tested it, his device on Final Fantasy 15, which runs at 30 frames a second, and he was still getting about 5 degrees Celsius higher on average than 4K streaming, just from YouTube. So I really don't know what it is. I'm guessing there's some optimization that needs to get done there, but Stadia is a disaster. Honestly, like Google has disappointed me so much. I wanted to be on board with the Google
we
Pixel
thought about going in on one together, but that did not. I'm glad we didn't because that'd been an absolute waste of money.
Yeah, God, it would have been.
The big question now is if this is going to deter like Steam and Microsoft and Amazon, who are all like, "Oh, we're gonna do the same thing."
Nope, they're gonna continue.
Oh, I know, but see, the thing is now if they're early in R&D, as of now, there is no market for this.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it's a developing market. It is the future of gaming. I mean, I'll stand by that statement. I genuinely think it's the future of gaming. It's just, it's going to be a rough start. Again, you mentioned people, the founders essentially being beta testers. I completely agree with you there. But I do think that this technology is going to be the future of gaming. It's not the future of gaming I'd like, but it's the future of gaming that makes the most sense, seeing how successful streaming.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I do think Stadia may have pushed back the doomsday clock a bit.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to give it 5 years before. Well, no, let's give it 2 years and then we'll take another look and another actual critical analysis of Stadia. I really want to see if their whole zero latency shenanigans actually.
Well, their native latency so far has not held up well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it hasn't been implemented yet. Implemented yet. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in it right now.
No, it feels like this launched prematurely.
You know what I do have a lot of faith in is the Sonic the Hedgehog redesign, which costed about.
I miss his furry gut.
I miss the two really small humanoid eyes.
I miss the humanoid teeth. That really sold me on the character.
Yeah.
Is that he can go to an actual dentist and be fine. And I love seeing him on the dentist chair.
I hope. So what I should finish the title of the story. Sonic the Hedgehog redesign cost about $5 million. Not much to say around there other than that. But a thought came to mind whenever you put this story down, is that what if on the director's cut of the Blu-ray that they release, it has the original film on it?
Won't.
Do you think they'll do that?
No, because the reason I actually watched stuff on this to kind of catch up on it. The reason why it was so cheap, being $5 million, is because for VFX, when a trailer goes out, generally most of the shots that are done are trailer shots, and so they don't finish the film and then just we're gonna put it into a trailer. You say these are gonna be trailer shots. We're gonna finish up these designs, go through all this. That's even why they had the scene where Sonic homing attacks the armored car from Robotics armored car. That shot, even in the new trailer, is all cleaned up because it's a lot more contrast now between the there's not the big blur of the flash when he hits it. It's a lot more detailed.
Okay.
And the lightning's more visible. So again, I think what happens is you have your VFX shots that are trailer shots go through first. Those are all done. The rest are either early production or not even started yet. And so all they had to do was basically, depending on how far they got, they had to redo all those scenes ground up. But most of the other ones didn't have the VFX in their completed form. So you're not going in there and just shredding the film and putting the new thing in there. You're going in there and basically filling the blank space you already had, or you had the model in the early form in some scenes, and you're basically replacing that and doing it again. But the new redesign is a lot more expressive. It seems a lot more cartoony, but also accurate. And I think it looks a lot better. I mean, I saw a movie today, and in the trailer, they had the new Sonic trailer in there. His expressions are so much better than they were with just the creepy eyes and the face. But now his big old eyes can express better. The new shots seem to be cleaned up. He looks
like an actual character now.
Yeah.
Not just oh God, what am I looking at?
Yeah, he didn't get the Super Mario Bros. Treatment from game to live action. He at least got a pretty solid treatment from Pikachu did.
Yeah.
It looks a lot more comparable to the character.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm genuinely looking forward to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Yes.
Those words just I just
even if it sucks,
words.
I'm gonna buy a ticket even if I don't go to it just to help support Paramount here. Because they took the hit of $5 million. I mean, still in terms of like marketing and overall film budgets, that can go like excessively large. $5 million is not like end all be all, but that's still money that they could have kept in their pocket. So I hope that they make that back in more with just them being able to change such a small thing like this for the fans, but overall make a better product. Even if it doesn't change how good the film is, I still think that being willing to do this and take the hit for the positive publicity and for make people like happy. I hope this works well for them because I'm actually impressed that they would do that rather than saying like it's our vision. If you don't like it, don't buy it, and then going through the whole thing and blaming the fans. They took the hit where they could and hopefully made their product more marketable.
Oh yeah, I hope so as well. Well, speaking of blaming
marketability
and marketability, yeah, we both have different approaches to this transition.
Yes.
So back to Nintendo, Shigeru Miyamoto. I believe he's the guy that invented Sonic the Hedgehog, actually. So he wants Nintendo to be as big as Disney. Well, on first read, it's like, what? Well, isn't Nintendo kind of already as big as Disney? In the gaming sphere, I guess you could say so, but he wants it to be an empire. So recently, he had an interview and basically kind of shared his thoughts on this. And he actually stated that his biggest hurdle in this goal for Nintendo is parents who restrict their children from playing video games like Mario. That's an interesting observation. He really wants the perception of, at least kind of gleaning the information from this. It seems as though he really wants the perception of, games like Mario and Zelda to be just consumable forms of media, just like TV, just like movies. You know? And I think that with our generation moving forward, I think that goal could probably be reached.
Move over, boomers.
Yeah. Okay, boomer, get out of here.
No, I think that's true. I think a lot of people like even with a lot of games are more cinematic where like Xenoblade is a great example where you have a game that you play, but you got 10 plus hours of cutscenes. You can sit there and watch and they're gripping.
Well, the cinematics isn't even the important thing. I'm just saying it's a form of consumable media.
Sure.
The only difference between playing a video game and watching a movie. Story. Yeah, there's one has one has a steering wheel and the other one doesn't. No, one has a controller and the other one doesn't. They're both forms of consumable media. And it's not there's like a stigma with a lot of people. I mean, I'm not going to say boomers just because it's so cliche, but there's a stigma that there is a difference with video games. And you can get addicted to them and all that. Well, I mean, you can get addicted to TV, you can get addicted to movies. It's all it is media. It's up to parents to restrict their kids from playing a specific amount or like too much video games or watching too much TV. But I do view it in the same light as any other kind of consumable media. And I could really see Nintendo getting as big as Disney. I think that's way off from right now. Again, perception, but Miyamoto even stated that he wanted. Where's the quote here? Let me see if I have it. Oh, he said, "I've become more interested in creating greater opportunities for a larger audience to enjoy." And, we've seen this as well with like the theme park that's going to be coming out at Universal Japan, Super Nintendo Land or whatever it's called. And we've also heard about a possible Super Mario movie coming out.
Please make a sequel to the one we already have.
Yeah. So Miyamoto seems to be wanting to use the IP of Mario in new ways, and I'm assuming other Nintendo's IPs as well in order to grow the company. And
going back to Stadia though, or streaming as being the future, you'd have to have that take hold for it to be as big as Disney, but just due to the fact that games have a $200 barrier to entry for most games. If you want to get a PS4, you want to get a Xbox One, a Switch Lite, you gotta spend at least $200 to be able to have to even climb the barrier to play a game. I mean, PC works too, but I mean, for a lot of things that are most games that are exclusive or console are the big ones, first party, launch on console.
You're just talking about the barrier to entry, right?
Well, even that's the thing is it's like, okay, for film, you go spend $8 in the movie theater, walk in, walk out in 2 hours. It's a lot less of a commitment for one, but two, it's also a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And so
wanting to become as big as Disney is, it doesn't necessarily
every company's goal, though.
Well, yeah, I know, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to, correlate the barrier to entry for consoles with.
I think it's important though, because the thing with Disney is all their stuff their TV shows have no barrier to entry. Their toys, their films, all those are like super easy to get into in terms of spend $8 at the theater to go get a ticket or buy a toy right off the shelf. Whereas Nintendo, I'm sure you can do the games, but most of their stuff, Nintendo is focused on console, and so that being a $200-$300 barrier to entry, it's like non-starter for no games. That's the big hurdle they got to overcome.
Well, okay, and here's what Stadia, how I'd approach this. Save them, though. Here's how I'd approach this: is building your brands and your IPs outside of just video games. And obviously, they're taking this step with Super Nintendo Land, but I think doing movies, maybe doing TV shows, doing other forms of media, I think are extrememely important.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
developing this. Yeah, because
they could nail a Zelda or Fire Emblem TV show. But no, same anime style as like Pit's intro and Smash.
They could make it. Would they nail it? No, it's probably going to be awful.
So they could.
Anything's possible, Emerson. But things that are likely, that's definitely not it. I'm just being facetious here, but as far as strategy goes, I think that's what makes the most sense, is having other forms of media. But I don't see having a especially $200 or $300 console as a huge barrier to entry, considering how many people already buy into these ecosystems, and then even going from there, looking at like software sales, because you don't buy a Switch and buy just one game. There's always more than one game purchased. Which, yes, again, it's still a bigger barrier to entry, but I think is at least as far as the handheld market goes, Nintendo's always going to have that. Even if even with the advent of cloud streaming, I think Nintendo's always going to have a corner on the handheld market. But I don't know. I don't think that they're going to grow to as big as Disney anytime soon. But it's definitely interesting to see Shigeru Miyamoto become a little less tense with the IPs, his IPs, and what his vision for Nintendo is. Do you have any other thoughts on this?
Not so much, no.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna move into the press Y for this week, and my press Y is I don't have a press Y. I do not have a press Y this week.
Do you want to press Y tentatively for Pokemon Sword and Shield?
Yeah, I'm gonna press Y for
press Y. The Y is capital in the word maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna press Y for hoping that I enjoy Pokemon. And that's all I'm gonna say, because I plan on playing that a little bit more. Hopefully, I was gonna say stream it. I do want to stream it some more because it was kind of fun, even though I had 4 viewers. I'd like to stream it some more, but I'm gonna be gone all this week because I'm going home for the holidays or for Thanksgiving. So, I won't have my PC with me. But regardless, it's. We'll see. I like the music so far, and
you'll love the gym music. The music for the gym battles is absolutely fire.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. But that's all I'm pressing Y for this week. I don't have anything too interesting, and we're also trying to keep it kind of short.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
I want to press Y on a Sword and Shield related tangent for consistency in games, which this does not have at all. There's a lot of changes they made that feel just strange. Like they gave you the escape rope, which is now permanent. To escape from dungeons, but they're all super short and very linear. They have now made it to where, okay, rather than gym badges telling you what Pokemon that you can, so it used to be after your gym battle, say you can now Pokemon that are traded up to level 30 will obey you. Pokemon that you get via trade up to level 50 will obey you. Well, now just general Pokemon will obey you, and you can't catch something over your limit. So after the 3rd gym, the wild Pokemon limit is level 35, and all my Pokemon are past that level right now. And so I can't catch anything comparable to my level because they won't obey me. You actually can't even catch them at all. So like you go to find something in the wild area, you go through to go to the new area, and it's like, okay, well, here's level 36 Pokemon. Oh, whoops, you can't catch any of this area. Like, why not? If it's hard and I can catch it, shouldn't I be able to do that? I don't care if it disobeys me, sure. But at least being able to have it, it's different. I don't know. It feels like they made some changes in there that don't work, some that do. But the game itself, it runs great, and then it runs terrible. It's really fun, and like find your own way around, and then you get into a slew of you walk 2 steps cutscene, walk 2 steps cutscene. It's I mean, the game is fine. Honestly, it's kind of standard Pokemon, but I just kind of wish they'd done more with it. So I'm gonna press Y for consistency, in hopes that games moving forward are a lot more. Or I mean, in terms of what I played recently, the games are they know what they're good at and they stick to it. Whereas Sword and Shield's like, okay, we're good at this, not good at this. We're gonna throw everything in there and hope some things stick. Because Dynamax is fine, but given that it only works in gym battles, it raises the question: if I can do this 8 times in the game, was it really worth marketing? I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm enjoying the game enough. I'm a Pokemon fan, but I feel like if I wasn't into Pokemon, this would just be a drag. Because I can sit in the wild area for 2 hours.
Don't say that.
No,
Don't say that.
Well, I'm the kind of person I can sit in the wild area for 2 hours, run around to Dex, and then evolve everything I have to fill up. I'm already almost core through the Pokedex. I'm already over the 100 Pokemon mark out of 400s. I mean, I've had the game for maybe 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that. But I mean, I can enjoy going around just like hunting Pokemon in the area, seeing what the encounter rate is, finding the rare ones, clearing out areas up all the time. I can enjoy going through and completing the Pokedex. And I'm having fun with that, but I feel like if I was going into the story and playing area, I'd be a bit like, I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing your take on this. But press Y for, I like my games to be consistent and also to have steady resolution, a solid story, and also be able to know what to do well and then do that as best as they can. Rather than being great than terrible. And then all around, yikes. Because I mean, have you got the wild area yet? I don't think you're there yet, are you?
No.
So once you get there, they kind of pan around the area and they show some shots of the trees. I don't know why they chose to do that. Because they like literally close-up shot. Here's a good tree shot. And it's just... Because some areas in the wild area look awesome. Some areas in the game look awesome. And then there's just some shots in some areas you can tell are just completely rushed through for graphic-wise. And so, yeah, it's just... I don't know. I'm enjoying the game as a Pokemon fan because it's just Pokemon again, even though I'm having fun doing my own thing in the wild area and completing the decks, and the story's not really gripped me or anything like that, neither of the characters, but I'm having fun doing what I do, and so I hope that anyone who gets the game can find their fun with it as well. And worst case scenario, the metagame is there, and that'll be fun. Anyway, it's my long-winded way to say I like games to be consistent and solid.
Good games.
For
a good gamer. All right. Well, that about wraps it up for this week's episode of the Press Y podcast. I apologize for some of the rush nature of this episode. Very busy bees. We commit to this every week, but there are some weeks where we do have to prioritize life over some of our creative outlets.
Oh, Gunnar, hang on. It's not Press Y. Let's say something anti-China. Give us your hottest take about why China's bad.
Okay, so one of the Hong Kong protesters, I'm not gonna get, okay, and I'm not gonna get specific. Okay, let me think. They manipulate their currency, and that's not cool. All right,
that is not cool. Those press wires.
That is not cool. That
is bro. That's your currency,
bro. That's like
let the market
that's not even
decide.
That's not even pressing Y. That's like taking your Switch and throwing it out the window.
Press Y for consistent currency.
Yeah. Also, you can only have 2 kids there. Which actually, I guess that kind of makes sense because...
Don't give them credit, Gunnar.
There's already too many people in China. Okay, all right. This is...
Gunnar comes out for genocide. That's been this episode of the Press Y podcast.
All right, bye.
Bye.